anytime I get to be a part of something like this or present or whatever, like, yeah, bring it on. Let's do it.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Telling It Like It Is. My name is Jade Alberts, the founder of Pure Guidance. We're a purpose before profit groups that help give back and really help you scale. Scrolling across the bottom is the Osler office hours. We're bringing it back. It's starting in March 11th, 10 to 1. A link will be up in the comments section shortly. You know, email calgaryevents@osler.com, set up an appointment. We'll be able to sit there, talk a lot of different things. I mean, it's awesome. We love it. We love giving back. We love sharing our knowledge with entrepreneurs. So please check that out. And if you need a little advice, you know, come and sign up. Two things that I want to give out a shout out to my number one fan, Felix Lee. I know he listens all the time. He's a junior high student who's interested in entrepreneurship, loves business. He always tunes in. He lives in our neighborhood. He's friends with our youngest daughter, and he loves just coming here. So Felix, that one's for you, buddy. And I just want to point out one last thing, that everything behind me now is all Canada. All my jerseys are either Canada, Saskatchewan, Notre Dame, Montreal, you know, Blue Jays. Away we go. My shirt is from when my daughter went to the Little League World Series and placed third. So it's going to be Canada for a while here. And speaking of Canada, it's a good way to kick it off after a couple weeks off, talking with the Procurement of Canada. Kris, how are you today?
Jade, awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for allowing me to be here and having this chat with you and your audience. This is fantastic. Love the shirt. Little League World Series, huh? That's awesome. You didn't tell me that the last time we were chatting about this stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a wonderful experience. They won nationals and then got to head down to the Little League World Series, and we ended up losing to Texas 2-1, or Southwest, I guess, 2-1 in the final, or in the semifinal. Wow. We placed third, and the team that won, which was Central, which was out of Chicago, we beat in the round robin 5-4, and they beat Texas 4-3. So the top three teams were very, very, very close when it came to the competitiveness. It was an experience like no other. It was unbelievable.
Isn't that amazing? Sport is just so great for that, and the experiences and the learning and the opportunity. That's fantastic. I'm feeling like I should have put on something. I should, I got a jacket from our daughter competing at Junior Worlds, and so feel like I should run and put that on right now. Join you in this celebration of Canadian sport.
Well, and celebrate of Canadian pride in general. That's what we are. We won the Four Nations Cup. We're good. We, hopefully what's happening, we're not going to get into what's happening in the down south, but there's hopefully some good positive things coming out of this internally anyway, within our country. So
lots of discussions for sure.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Let's kick this off with, you talking and telling everybody a little bit about what you do, how you came to do it, and what is Procurement Canada?
Sure, absolutely. It'd be my pleasure. So my name is Kris Ruiter. I'm the regional manager of Procurement Assistance Canada here in Western Region. What we refer to as Western Region is my team is responsible for Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. We do like to remind our other regional colleagues that we take care of more than half the land of Canada. And our role really is an outreach team. So we're part of Public Services and Procurement Canada. That's our full department, which is essentially the contracting and procurement arm of the federal government. But we're an outreach team. So fundamentally, what I mean by all this is that fundamental of procurement is that the government essentially gives our minister, the Minister of Public Services and Procurement Canada, the authority to buy. Now, the first thing that our minister does is actually delegate some of that authority to every single department and agency. So the number one myth that we bust when it comes to federal government procurement is that it's not one client. It's not the federal government. It's not the whole thing as one client. It's every single department and agency has some authority to do their own purchasing. So therefore, it's 100+ different clients for potential suppliers, entrepreneurs, innovators, and businesses. And so the way it works is that the government departments they determine what it is they need. So they'll determine their requirement. They'll figure out what it is they need. Parks Canada knows what it needs to run its parks. Canada Border Services Agency knows what it needs to run, border crossings and ports of call, and every other department, etc. So they'll figure out their requirement, and then they will do it themselves if it's under their authority, or they send it over to our department, Public Services and Procurement Canada, and we will do it on their behalf, the solicitation and the contracting. Now, where we fit into this is what we do. We get to hang out with cool people like you, Jade, and just like chat and talk and talk about procurement. And so we do webinars and workshops and presentations. We offer a one-on-one service. So we'll meet with any business that wants to have a chat about government procurement, where they might fit into it, whether it's direct contracting as a prime contractor or subcontracting or supply chain. Where's the best fit? How does it work? And what we really try and do is help businesses save time. Businesses have no time. They're so busy trying to run their business, and to spend extra time, especially as a small, small, medium business, to spend trying to figure out our stuff. Because who are we kidding, Jade? It's government procurement. It's a little complicated, right? There's a few layers. There's a few rules to this. So if we can take help some of those businesses and navigate the processes, navigate the opportunities, and be able to save them some time so that they can focus on the areas that they could be successful in with us and participate with us, that's what we're going to do. So we do lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of sessions. We do lots and lots and lots of one-on-ones to work with businesses to try and provide this information so that they might be able to participate. So that's kind of fundamentally about, where we sit and what we do and how we do it. We work with a lot of partners, like yourself today. We'll work with chambers of commerce. We'll work with, locally. Who am I thinking of? Calgary Black Chamber of Commerce. We've done some work with them. Calgary Chamber of Commerce themselves. We've done some presentations with them. Métis Nation of Alberta. We've done some presentations with them. So a whole host of different partners that we'll work with to try and get this message out to the suppliers and try and provide some support.
Well, I think that's awesome. And I love the fact that, the government has somebody out there educating what's going on, because I'm sure a lot of people don't think government when they're starting their businesses or working with their businesses, or, oh my God, like I'm just a little guy, I'm too little, or maybe I'm not prepared for it, or maybe I don't think I can even have a chance of getting any contracts with the government. So why don't we talk about, what sizes of companies can go into this? What type of industries, should be looking, into your department?
It's such a great point, and it's such a great question. And so, fundamentally, everybody can consider us. Everyone should have this conversation. Everyone can take a look at what we do. Another one of the myths and perceptions that we bust, right? The federal government buys 36 billion dollars a year of stuff, goods, services, construction, etc. So it's as a government, we're one of the biggest purchasers in Canada. Now, when we think of it, and when most people think of the federal government, to your point, Jade, is the typical perception is, well, you guys buy billion-dollar things from billion-dollar companies. That's sort of the fundamental thought about us, because and rightfully so. In the news, it's jet planes and Navy ships and billion-dollar bridges and major IT infrastructure and huge remediation projects in the north, and there's all kinds of really large procurements and really large programs that are going on, and that's what gets in the news. The surprising fact, though, is that close to 90% of our contracts are actually valued under $25,000 each, and most go to small and medium enterprise. That is very surprising. Most find that is a very surprising statistic, because again, the news is all about the big giant ticket items. But the reality is that we have lots and lots and lots of opportunity for that micro, small, medium business. And we have everybody. we have, and really fundamentally, it comes down to two things to do business with the government of Canada. One, you need to legally allowed to do business in Canada. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah. And the second is, can you meet the requirement? That's really what it comes down to. So if you're a micro business, you can participate. If you're a partnership, a 2-person shop, 5-person shop, you're a 40-person shop, you're a 100-person shop, you're a large corporation, you're a nonprofit, you can participate. You're a social enterprise, you can participate. Really, the ownership structure really, for the most part, doesn't matter. That's your business as an entrepreneur, how you want your business to be structured. So we don't really say, and the requirement's not, you must be a large corporation. That's not part of our criteria. Now, we may ask for experience. So if we're building $1 billion bridge, we're probably going to ask if you've built $1 billion bridge before, right? Now, if you happen to be a 6-person shop that's great at subcontracting and project management, and you have experience doing that for $1 billion bridge, great. You can bid. No worries. That's not a problem. So it's, we've had all kinds of interesting conversations, and I've been in conversations where one person, a 1-person shop, a solopreneur has won contracts. It's anybody really can, if you're legally allowed to do business in Canada and you can meet the requirement. So we always encourage everyone to have a conversation. Come and have a chat with us. Either come to one of our online sessions, reach out for a one-on-one, please, because we can figure out pretty quickly where you fit. Or if you don't fit, we can figure that pretty quickly too. Because while we buy close to everything, we don't buy everything. So, there are the rare occasion where we'll have a conversation and be like, well, we actually don't really buy that, but at least it would only take, say, 20, 30 minutes to figure that out, not piles and piles of hours of research to figure that out. So we really encourage everyone to come and have a chat with us.
I think that's interesting. I mean, that stat blows me away, right? You are correct, right? All the big news gets the big contracts with whatever it is. I mean, no one's going to report on, contracts that are $25,000, $35,000, $50,000 in size. But I mean, I don't even think you told me that in our prior meetings. I'm just shocked at that number. I really, really am.
Yeah, it's super surprising. And then the variety of what we buy is also very surprising, because again, most people think of military, construction, remediation, particularly out here, IT infrastructure. These are the ones that really get thought of. But I mean, me personally, my first contract when I joined the government, actually, I just celebrated my 15th year. So 15 years ago, I got hired into thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah. Not bad for someone who started his career as a golf pro. So that's not bad. So
there's hope for all the golf pros, you mean?
That's right. Absolutely. So so we, I joined the government and I got put in. So you remember H1N1 when that happened?
Oh,
right?
God. Yeah.
Oh, right. So I actually joined the government right after H1N1 and joined the vaccine procurement team to redo the contracts right after H1N1 for seasonal and pandemic flu. Different from COVID, that was a different situation. This was about influenza. And so the annual flu shot programs and things like that, I was part of the team that put together that next 10-year contract for that. That was my first exposure to government contracting. Then after that, they put me in furniture. And I ended up writing the national strategy of office furniture procurement, of all things, and that was a completely different experience. And then I managed a team of buyers where we were buying picnic tables and custodial services, and my favorite's always the rockets that cause avalanches on purpose in Parks Canada. There was lab equipment, lab supplies. But we had a special relationship, particularly in Alberta. We had a special relationship with CFB Suffield down near Medicine Hat. Yeah. Because prior to pandemic, the British Army Training Unit Suffield trained there. So 3,000 British troops training there. And so there was a lot of procurement that was going on. And it would be like plywood and fence posts and paint and actors and makeup artists and vehicle parts. And these are all different contracts. Now, an actor for the day to run simulations for training purposes is, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the value of the contract, but a few $100, $1,000, I don't know what it would be. But I mean, while it's a very small dollar value contract, it's still a contract. Yep. So again, the variety of what we actually procure to run all the programs and all the services across all the various government departments and agencies is quite broad, which is why we always encourage people to come and have a conversation to see where the fit might be.
Again, I mean, I think that's a good story and a good idea. That was kind of going to be my next question. Like, what type of industries are going to be using it? And you just rattled off a whole whack of them. That, man, I mean, from acting to paint. I mean, like, I can't even imagine all the categories that you're procuring for and things along those lines. So why don't I just kind of want to take a little kind of step away from the actual. Again, if anybody wants any more information, they can reach out to Kris. He's tagged in all the links here. Of course, the Procurement Services website is in the comment section. Click on it and check it out. So how does somebody go? How does somebody start? How would a business, whoever it is, company XYZ, wants to start looking into government contracts? What's the process? Is there a timeline? Please kind of share those details.
Sure. Yeah, not a problem. And how many minutes are we in? Because I'm about to give, that might take a bit of time. But I'm also going to give you my really, really horrible, terrible government answer, which I try to avoid, but sometimes I really, really can't. Because when it comes to, how long it takes and what to do and where to go and all this kind of stuff, my unfortunate answer for you, Jade, is it depends. It depends. So, and the reason it depends is because we use a variety of methods in order to procure, right? Okay. So if we were talking about professional services, so anybody that's listening today or listening to this in the future, if you're in professional services, meaning, are you an IT service provider? Are you a webmaster, web designer? Are you in cybersecurity? Are you in any kind of technical field like that? On the non-IT side, if you are in HR-related services or change management, lean consulting, business management, health services, things like that, well, we have a pre-qualified list of all those streams, what we call streams and categories. All those different professional services fall under what we call a supply arrangement, which is really just a government term for a pre-qualified list of suppliers. So if you're in that area, that's really the first step to do, because all the contracts and all the opportunities run through that program called Pro Services. And so the key thing is to be on that list, because that creates the opportunity. If you're not on that list, you're not getting that opportunity. And almost all government department agencies need to use it. So if we're talking that type of space, that's the starting point. Now, if you're a goods producer, right, you manufacture a product or you source products and you're in goods, that's more going to be request for proposals and another different type of pre-qualified list. But for the most part, that stuff's going to be found on our Canada Buys website. So over the years, we have had different platforms when it comes to our tendering service. And so we used to be on Merck's way back. We used to be on Merck's. Some people are familiar with that. Still comes up in presentations. Hey, are you on Merck's? No, actually, we're not on Merck's anymore. Although they do pull our information onto Merck's. So you will find it there, but it's actually not the official version. We moved from Merck's to buyandsell.gc.ca. That was our platform before. We have now rebranded and it's now called Canada Buys. So from a searching for opportunities perspective, as a place of where to start, what I would highly recommend is taking a look at Canada Buys. And the reason Canada Buys came into play is because it was a trade obligation with Europe, a trade agreement obligation with Europe, to have one portal for all levels of government. So the way I like to describe Canada Buys is this is your search engine of public procurement. So in Canada Buys, under tender opportunities, it'll open up and there's thousands of opportunities that are listed in there. And if you look, you'll see that it is federal government departments, it is provincial governments, it's municipalities, it's MASH sector, schools and hospitals are also in there. So you can do keyword searches for your industry in the Canada Buys platform, which will then pull up the opportunities at all levels of government in order to try and see what opportunities are there to maybe participate at a provincial, municipal, or federal level. So really key as a starting point to take a look is through that Canada Buys, which is, you don't need to register. It's an open data website. You just go in and search and find and go from there. Another website we like to share that goes a little bit beyond from a data perspective and a research perspective on what the federal government does. If you Google proactive disclosure, there's an open data site where we disclose our contracts over $10,000. And as I said, 90% of our contracts are under $25,000. So you get a lot more data in proactive disclosure. And so that can be a very good research site. If you're curious as to what we buy, and if we buy what you sell, that can be a really good starting point for looking up information, is in that proactive disclosure space. Certainly, taking a look at those sites, checking it out. And then, of course, I will always come back to call us, email us, set up a one-on-one with our outreach team, and we can have that conversation with you and get into it much further.
Well, I guess to start off, thanks for saying those sites. They are now in the comments section, so check them out, click them. Great share on that, because again, most people assume that they have no chance in hell of getting a government contract. I mean, and you bringing that NIS up and facts at the beginning, I think was priceless, because I don't know. That's probably going to be the stat I share the most. 90% of government contracts are under 25K. I don't know. And if you're a small business and you think that if you can get, I'm just going to say, what if you get 7, or let's just say 10? I mean, that's 250K into your bottom line, right? I mean, could be a big thing for just, going out there, checking what the government has to do. That I'm sure a lot of people are checking on it, but you never know until you get out there. So again, if you're listening, like you said, now or in the future, the websites are there, the proactive disclosure and Canada Buys, they're there. Click on them to check out any information that you want to look at, and I'm going to be sharing that like for some time. So I kind of want to just maybe give a little Alberta plug here. Is there any stories or anything that you can share of any things of companies that have got contracts? I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but I don't even know if that's something that you're legally even allowed to talk about.
Well,
more in the smaller range, right?
Sure. I mean, I can talk about public information, and so public information is is on Canada Buys. It's in proactive disclosure, and yeah, sure. There's some really interesting stories, and that that I like to share. And I've had I love what I get to do. I've been doing this for a few years now. I've met so many interesting people, so many interesting innovators and entrepreneurs, and trying to help them, and it's worked out. And recently, I had helped a company a couple years ago go through, and I mentioned that program called Pro Services, and Pro Services it's great, but it is not the simplest thing to get onto and register and apply for it, and I love to make fun of it because it's just fun, and use a bunch of government acronyms. But in order to get onto Pro Services, you have to do an SRI to get a PBN, to do a CPSS, to then apply, right? So it's not the simplest process in the world. So our team provides a service where we'll walk through the entire thing with with a company that wants to get onto pro services to make sure they understand how it all works and they have all the information, and again, to save them time. So a couple of years ago, a company was trying to get onto pro services. They were struggling to do it. They gave, you know, I walked through it with them. I had the, you know, got them on, and they did it, you know, they put in all their information, showed them what to do, and they got on to pro services. Well, I ran into this company at an event 3-4 months ago, and we were chatting at the table, and I had worked with her team, so I didn't know her as well. She was the owner. So we get chatting, and she looks at me and she says, oh, here's my card. And I was like, oh, I know your company. I helped you get on to pro services. And it was such a neat moment. She looked at me and she actually got a tear in her eye, because she then told me, well, we just finished our first contract. Like so they got on the list. They'd struggled to get on the list because of how it works. We helped them get on there, and then they secured their first contract, and now they're moving on to their next contract. And so, you know, it was really quite neat. It was a really quite neat moment. I had another one a few years ago, and this one's really quite funny. I was doing a presentation at a Francophone business event up near Edmonton, and there was a woman that was part of the event where she did a really fun segment. It was laughter yoga. Okay, so laughter yoga. I don't know if you've ever tried it, Jade.
I have not. I laugh a lot, so it sounds something I'd like.
It is hysterical. It is absolutely hysterical, especially in French with 100 people. Like absolute riot. Like it was just absolute riot. Well, she comes up to me after I gave my presentation. She says, well, you know, like, could I get a contract? And I said, well, sure. I mean, we're an organization like any other organization, right? Where, you know, we have training and we have team building, and there are, you know, no, is that going to be a very large contract? No. Is an entire department going to do that? No. But it's possible that there might be a team, you know, a team of 8, a team of 10 might want to do a team building exercise or a training exercise with their team. So that might be a possibility. And so it might be $100. It might be a couple $100, maybe. So I showed her how to navigate that from a reaching out and connecting with government departments, connecting with teams. And about a month later, I get an email saying, Kris, you'll never believe it, but I actually got a contract. Wow. You know, for someone that offers training and team building, if companies out there offer that kind of thing in small dollar amounts, then there are ways to approach government departments, communicate with them, because those teams are making those decisions themselves. They're going to make that decision to contract for that team building, that training might be at the manager level rather than at the department level. And so, you know, we showed her how to do that and how to reach out and how to connect with government departments, and she won a contract. I mean, there's a whole host of stories, because I've worked with another company in the construction industry, and they've grown from, you know, I can't remember what the numbers were, but they've basically gotten up into the high $100,000s to $1 million of contracts by, you know, being on the right lists and knowing how to, you know, write a bid and tips and tricks and things like that. And, you know, they've been able to secure extra contracts. So, and these are all Alberta examples, all companies I've worked with here in Alberta. And so it's been, you know, it's been great. There's been a number of other areas that we have supported as well, because, you know, for the innovators that are on the line, you know, we have a relationship with Department of National Defense and their Ideas program, which is a $1.6 billion program over 20 years to solve defense and security challenges. There's some new challenges out right now, actually. And so it's been great to work with some innovators and some entrepreneurs to help them understand that program. And then to have them come back and go, hey, I got in, I secured a contract, and to develop their innovation through that program. So it's very rewarding. It's very fun to hear about these different stories, and that it's possible. And I think that's the main thing, Jade. It's kind of like the stat about under $25,000. It's possible. I'm not going to suggest that it's easy. I mean, we are the government, right? Again, lots of rules, lots of layers, but it is certainly possible, and it's certainly, for the most part, worth a look as a different potential business line for a company.
No, I love it. And the comments in here, right? Like, kind of like David and Pat and Kris all talking about, wow, checking out this website, looking at it. There's people in here, Capriel with Nature Mary, who's going to be on our show in a few weeks. There are potential government contracts for I saw Brendan Ingle in here they do a lot of business. I mean, I think people that don't know aware of this are going to be unbelievably shocked about this conversation. And even some of the things that you brought up today, I did not know. Which is why we have these conversations.
This is why we have these conversations. Why I love doing this. I absolutely, I love the role that I get to play, and I love the role our team gets to play. There's lots of government jobs out there, and everything's about helping Canada. But I feel a little bit closer to it, which is fun, because I get to work directly with Canadian businesses, and I get to work directly with micro businesses and smaller businesses and women-owned businesses and Indigenous-owned businesses and Black-owned businesses and everybody. And it's fantastic, and try and provide them support. So I know I keep saying it over and over again, but anybody that wants to have a conversation, about government procurement and contracting, that's what we're here for. We are here and designed as a team. We're a free service. Please reach out. Absolutely happy to connect with you for these conversations.
I love it, and again, that'll be put. Your information is you're tagged in there. The government websites are up in the comment section. You've pretty much answered all the questions. So I'm always sad when our conversations come to an end, but I do have one, and I'm putting a little spin on it because of this conversation. So, if you had one piece of advice, Kris, for an entrepreneur, a small business, to start the process with, Procurement Canada, what would that be?
Call me.
So easy.
Yeah. I mean, email me, call me, LinkedIn me, whatever. Whether we meet or you meet with my team. That to me is the starting point, because again, we can save the time and point you in the right direction of where to go. Now, that being said, maybe a couple of tips and tricks to share on, how to actually participate. And so let's say, for argument's sake, you've gone into Canada Buys, you found an opportunity. It's a request for proposal. You're now checking out the documents. Now, our documents can be a little large. Could be, quite a few pages in there. There's a lot of language. Here are my two fundamental tips for getting started. Okay, absolute fundamental tips for getting started in reading our documents and how to respond to an RFP. Okay, the first is going to sound absolutely crazy, or it's going to make complete sense depending on your viewpoint. The number one tip is read our documents backwards. Okay. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous. However, the number one thing when you're looking at our documents, and your number one decision as a business, is, do I want to bid or can I bid? Right? Which then asks the question, do you or can you meet the requirement? As I said at the beginning, legally allowed to do business in Canada, meet the requirement. So can you meet the requirement? Well, the requirement definition is in Annex A. It's always in Annex A. Our templates are always the same. So if you're looking at one of our documents, there's not much point reading 40 pages of information to then get to the Annex A and find out in the requirement definition it wasn't what you thought, and you can't actually meet the entire requirement. Okay. So number one tip, go to Annex A, read the requirement first, make sure you can handle that requirement. Now, when you figure that out, and yes, I can do this requirement, I can meet this, I can provide this good or service. Now let's work backwards through the rest of the document into the evaluation criteria and everything else. But that first question really comes down to what the requirement is and if you can provide it. My second tip is Control F is your friend. Okay. So We love to use the word must. In a 60-page document, we could have 126 musts. Okay. So if you Control F, put in the word must, go through each of the musts. Once you figured out the requirement and that you can do it, as a practice, do that, because that way you won't miss anything. You won't miss any of the little requirements, the little details, the little sign here, initial here, must send questions here, must do this. You'll cover it all. You won't miss anything. So 2 big tips for getting started in actual responding to a bid opportunity is read our documents backwards, starting with Annex A, and then Control F, the word must, and go through each of the musts. You won't miss anything.
Wow, those are 2 great tips, and especially the control. I could save a lot of time.
Lots of time. Lots of time.
And who wants to read
Always
all this
trying to
anyway?
save time.
No doubt. Well, this is awesome, Kris. I mean, we've had a lot of people on here, a lot of people commenting on there. You might want to go check her out here after the conversation, especially on LinkedIn. And I'm just going to put your information in here so people can reach out, even though you are tagged in all the So, but again, I appreciate you coming in and sharing this story and sharing exactly what is needed to be done, what is needed to do, and that there are spots for smaller businesses, and it is very, very, very important for people to understand that lots of contracts are there, how the process to do it. So thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story. I know you're out there. We see each other at a lot of events, so I really appreciate that.
Super. Thank you. I wanted to say that because I don't think I said at the beginning, I am local. I'm local here in Calgary, with you, which is great. And I love running into you for sure. And all the work you're doing, all the great work you're doing, supporting businesses and entrepreneurs, and the mental health support that you provide is just fantastic. And really congratulations to you and all your work that you're doing. And so, yeah, I am local as well. So I look forward to seeing you at some other events. And again, I'm happy to meet businesses virtually or in person. Always love a cup of coffee. So, happy to meet in Calgary somewhere and go from there. But again, thanks for this opportunity to share this information and hopefully, spark some interest with some entrepreneurs that maybe hadn't considered the federal government as an area of opportunity, and looking forward to furthering those conversations with them for sure.
Oh, I'm sure we will. And thank you for the kind words. That means a lot. And again, anybody looking for some help, office hours is going to be Tuesday, March 11th. Scrolling across the bottom, linking in the comments section. Again, Kris, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. And and I look forward to our next conversation.
Me too. 100%. Thanks so much.
Everybody else. And to everybody else, summer or spring is here, and let's enjoy some of the nice weather.
100%. Yes.
Give yourself some time at the car wash.